Britain's business bosses have urged Rishi Sunak to stop dithering and finally reveal the future of HS2 after the Prime Minister refused 12 times to rule out scrapping the northern leg. Now, there are growing fears and obviously uncertainty in the industry because, of course, no one really knows what Rishi Sunak is going to do. We talked earlier about the fact, is he going to can it after conference? Is he going to just build part of it? Is he going to build the whole thing? No one knows. I'm not even sure he knows at the moment. He repeatedly refused to commit to phase 2, insisted, suggesting that fixing potholes was priority number 1. He then blamed COVID for the failing railways. Now, the TUC, other trade union chiefs, not happy at all about what is going on. They've demanded that the Sunak government convene an emergency summit to find a solution to this problem. And there have been a lot of scathing messages to Rishi Sunak, as I said, to be stop dithering and actually make a decision. Well, joining us now is Joe Rukin, who is founder of Stop HS2. A very good morning to you.
Morning, David.
Would you agree, stop dithering, make a decision?
Yeah, absolutely. Just scrap the whole lot would be my decision. You look at you're talking about, inflating costs on phase 2. Phase 1, they have blown about 60%, maybe more of the budget, and they've done 20% of the work. That you're not looking at, no stations have been built. All they've done is basically chop down a load of trees. They've moved some roads. They've put in some bridges and tunnels, very little else. The rest of phase 1 is this desolate dust bowl, and they've blown about 2/3 of the budget already. You're looking at Euston. It was meant to cost about $2 billion. They're talking about 4.8, and that's just phase 1. You can imagine how much those cost increases are going to go on when you're talking about phase 2 as well. Basically, you should give the whole thing up and return the mess that you've made to nature.
But if you accept your argument and we bin it now when we've spent all of this money, what a waste of money that's been. Also, the blight on people's lives. I was reading about people who've had to sell their properties for far less because, of course, it's been impacted by HS2. There's also a broader message. What does it say about the state of Britain on the global stage, that we can't build national infrastructure?
Well, so we can't plan national infrastructure because what has happened is HS2 was just invented without any assessment of what Britain's transport infrastructure needed. You just had a load of construction lobbyists go to Lord Adonis and say, we'd like to build the most expensive railway in the history of the world, please. And he said, yeah, fine, that sounds like a great idea. And it was the most expensive railway in the history of the world, back when it was £33 billion, mark for month, obviously. And now you're looking at it's treble that, at least. And the costs are just going to keep going up because they made a number of calamitous mistakes. A route was designed on a desk-based exercise. They just drew a line on a map in a desk in London and didn't realise what they were going to hit, which is why these costs have kept.
But my understanding also is that when you compare it with infrastructure in Europe, the reason that it's so important is because of all the objections. So they've had to build the tunnels. That is what many of the lobbyists are saying, that actually if the government had said, right, we are compulsorily purchasing this land, we will build a railway, as many other countries will do, the cost would be far less.
Now, that's what the lobbyists are saying, because they need to frame this now as some sort of north-south class war, saying, oh, it's cost so much because of all these horrible NIMBYs on phase 1. The reason the costs have gone up, the reason that tunnels were added on phase 1, they extended the Chiltern Tunnel. Well, they joined together 2 tunnels already that they had planned right from the start through the area of outstanding natural beauty. But the main tunnel was because as I say, it was a desk-based exercise when it was first designed. Arup decided that they could put HS2 next to the central line through West London, and then, it'll be fine. It'll just fit in the gardens of these houses. And then they realised, we'd have to knock down the houses and the road and the houses opposite. Like, if you look at the construction timetable for genuinely that they had for Hanger Lane, they were going to have 5 years of roadworks at the Hanger Lane gyrator. They're going to completely take it out because they thought they could do this overland route through London. And that's how insane it was from the start. And that's what the tunnel that added the cost. It's nothing to do with protest. It's absolutely everything to do with the sheer incompetence on which this project was designed from the start. But as you say, they're trying to frame this as some sort of north-south class war at this point in time and say, it's all these horrible NIMBYs, which they have done right from the start.
It's interesting. Rishi Sunak, his aide, he's being advised on HS2 by a long-standing critic of the project. I was really taken by what he said. This is Andrew Gilligan. He said HS2 is the greatest mistake in 50 years. Boris Johnson, although Boris Johnson seemed to be supportive and now seems to be rowing back, saying it makes him cry. Just in terms of the money, just so people understand, that phase 1 now, I believe from Euston to Birmingham, although no one can be sure whether actually Euston is included or not included, or whether it stops at Old Oak Common, which Charlie says is a great place to hang out, is 99 billion. If you then extend it up to Manchester, we're now talking another 54 billion. The phase 2 east, going to East Midlands Parkway, is 28 billion. Also, what does it do to journey times? Not much.
Well, the problem is, in terms of journey times, the entire business case for HS2 was based on the idea that if you reduce journey times, then that means money for the economy. They basically said time is money. We've worked it out. Everyone on a train is unproductive, and we have, they figured out how much money that is worth to the economy, which is absolutely.
But don't people work on trains?
Yes, absolutely. That's a fundamental problem with the HS2 business case, that they basically said no one works on trains. All time on trains is unproductive. Now there's arguments say, oh, it's about capacity, and basically you're seeing from the lobbyists that they're trying to conjure this magic trick whereby they're saying, well, we'll get all this freed up capacity if we have HS2. And what that actually means is, well, hang on, you free up capacity, you mean you cancel the existing trains and say, oh yes, that's what we'll do, we'll take Manchester London and put it on HS2. But those trains that exist now, they stop at other places like Crewe, like Wilmslow, like Stockport, like Lichfield and Tamworth and Rugby, and loads of places up and down the line. And same with Manchester to Birmingham, where those trains will stop at Stafford and Stoke, and again Macclesfield and other places. So you can't get rid of those existing trains. And people go, oh yeah, we'll get rid of those existing trains. Plus, what is also forgotten about HS2 is it needs a massive ongoing subsidy, because like every other high-speed rail project across the world, it will not deliver on the grossly inflated passenger forecasts which were used to justify its construction. The passenger forecasts were way high before COVID. And what we have seen is, while you have seen some uplift, especially in leisure passengers, the intercity elite, the business elite that are doing the long point-to-point journeys that HS2 are designed for, they simply haven't come back in anything like the numbers that they were there before. And as a result, the business case is even more shot. So you're going to need a massive, massive ongoing subsidy for something that will only ever benefit the richest in society. And that is going to suck money away from the rest of the rail network, meaning that other services simply won't be able to run. New services, other services won't be able to run because the money is going to be going on running HS2.
Joe, really good to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed. That's Joe Rukin.